Train Pacific Express number 5 was coming through a very stormy night, December 29, 1876. Very good. It had left, now this is a hard one, raise your hand if you know the answer. It had come from Buffalo. So it came from Buffalo, it went through Erie. We actually have some of the transcripts of what was said as they went back and forth. And what they were saying. It's on time, it's running late. Well, the snow got deeper and deeper. We all understand deep snow, right? Yeah. It got deeper and deeper and then kept going, and as they passed Erie, I passed Northeast, that's a town in Pennsylvania, and then Erie, and it was, then it passed Conneaut. It's running 2.5 hours late now, and they had to add another engine. They had the Socrates was pulling the Columbia. And now these trains were not like today. You see this replica of what it looks like. Does it look like it's leaning? There's a reason why. But this is very similar to what it was. We have had Bachmann trains, if any of you are train people, Bachmann trains built us a beautiful train for the movie that's being made. It's a documentary. We've worked on that for almost 4 years now, and we're getting closer to that. We should know by this June. But the train was traveling with a lot of happy travelers. They had just finished having Christmas. They had been to visit with people, and everybody was having a wonderful time. This train was a beautiful train. Velvet-covered seats, the very finest. The people on this train had money, and they had come back with many of their gifts. They were getting closer and closer, communications were going, and they were within sight of the Ashtabula train depot. It's not the one that's there today. That was built later, the early 1900s, and that old one has been torn down.
Is this something you think kids know about these days?
These kids have been studying about it, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's kind of important for kids to remember this kind of thing.
Because like I said, I still got to do my thing around here, so.
Are you okay?
Well,
I'm good. I thought you were
David has the artifacts down here. This is David Tobias.
That's about technology-wise, where I am.
He collected the stuff out of the river from how many years? 30, 40 maybe.
So you just go out there every once in a while and look for stuff?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I've got the best hobby in the world. I just go down there and take a look around and use the detector.
So when was the last time you found something?
How long into the program? Last late summer.
Okay. What kind of stuff do you find?
A lot of brass melded and iron pieces. Just a whole lot of everything.
Well, there were pot-belly stoves on this train. The fires went over, they knocked over everything else, the oil lamps fell over. The people later were in court and they testified, and it was put all together in a book. The people later said, oh my goodness, this Marion Shepherd, remember I told you the single lady traveling from Ripon, Wisconsin? Oh my goodness, she was on the train. So none of them stayed on the track, by the way, but it landed straight up more than any of the others. So there were more survivors in that car than any other car. Some of those people were able to get out. She said later, I had a sense of falling, and then a most awful crash as the glass and the stoves all crashed together. She was able to get out. Another man in that same car was able to get out. Well, this woman, I love her. I've got a picture of her, and I want you to come up and see her later. But she found a broken piece of wood from one of the windows, perhaps, or something like that. And what do you think she did with this? People were trapped inside. Yes, very good. She took this thing, now remember, she's in a long dress. She's standing in icy water. She's probably covered with soot and dirt and everything else. And she had the presence of mind, can't get a good hold on that. She had the presence of mind to take that stick and she started beating through all the windows. People were screaming and crying for help. And she was hitting the windows while this gentleman who helped her, they pulled out very many of the people. It was a good thing because The fire department was called, but for some reason the order was never given to put water on the fire. They wondered later if he didn't think the steam would rise up. He was known to have a little problem with maybe drinking too much. They wondered about that. A lot of questions rose about that. And that's been the biggest mystery of this whole thing. Why didn't they came, why didn't they put water on that? But they stood by and they watched. Well, other people were trying to come, but the snow was so deep. And so they tried to make their way. This was high. The bridge you see there now is not as high as that one. They tried to make their way down the side of the hill to get to them. Then they had to get them back up again. Most of the people had died, but there were some survivors, and especially these ones that Marion Shepherd had found, and she got them out. Philip Bliss and his wife Lucy perished in that fire. So did the newlyweds that were on their honeymoon, and many of the others. But they got the people out, they brought them up, and they put them into, there were some bars at that time nearby. That was the only place they could find, and they laid the people out on there. One woman had a baby that night, and another woman had a baby, and that baby died. As far as we know, one of the babies lived. This is what happens when you open a throttle on a steam engine. Remember whenever he got it to go faster? He's doing the same thing.
There it goes.
And when does it make that noise? Oh, the books, Mr. Tobias. You would give me the books? We're going to have to grab their books.
So did your class study the train disaster?
Yeah.
Why do you think it's important people know about it?
Well, because people probably want to know what's about where they live.